Vivacious, the new American Revolution. And today we have with us Dr. Reverend, I said it backwards, Reverend Doctor, right? Phyllis
It
Hatcher.
doesn't matter.
Reverend Dr. Phyllis Hatcher. How are you today? Introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, I am wonderful, even though it's such a cold morning, but I am doing just great. It's always good to be on this side of the earth in the mornings. But I am Reverend Dr. Phyllis Hatcher, and I chair the 4th Congressional Federation of Democratic Women, which covers Rockdale, Newton, DeKalb, and some parts of Gwinnett, depending on which way the maps are drawn this term.
Wow. That's an unfair instability, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, today I want to talk about, I've been doing this for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first sentence, the first time I said it. The sound of America for progress has reached critical mass. And it has worsened in the last 10 years. And I'm talking about the state of politics in America. Can you help us a little bit to understand what is really going on? Because we have separated ourselves. Mm-hmm. We have separated ourselves in a democracy, to me, in my understanding, cannot operate separate from the people, because democracy should be run by the people. Could you talk to us about a little bit about the state of politics at this time?
Well, let's just see, can we just start backwards first?
Okay.
In 1965 and 68, the people of color finally got the right to vote. So now, with that being said, we are still fighting for voting rights. As you can know, in 20 and 21, coming up on 2022, the state of Georgia had a bill that was called the SB 22 bill. And that bill was still trying to dilute the voting process of people of color. So when you say democracy, that can actually go many different ways, because we know that we have party lines. We have the Democratic Party, then we have the Republican Party, but now we're coming up on the Independent Party. As a candidate for Congress in 2022, my conversation has always been, why is it that we have to have party lines? Why is it that we can just have a people party? And that means that we are all human, we're all people, and we should all have the same democracy and the same rights as people. So you're right, we're in a revolution. Well, we could talk about that a lot, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to, ask me a couple of other questions, and then hopefully I will stay out of trouble as you ask me these questions.
Don't stay out of trouble.
Okay.
We need a real word. We need the truth, and we as a people need to be activated.
Exactly.
Because we can get away with, and I'm saying we because it's our community, but we're not making these laws, but we can get away with doing that, destroying voting rights of people, because people are not involved.
Exactly.
How do we have people to care again? I mean, what is it that we need to do on the people need to do on the people's side? Because we'll say the politicians are doing this and the politicians are doing that, but we're doing nothing. We don't care to vote because we feel hopeless in the voting arena.
Well, that is so true. First of all, we have to learn how to educate, and educate starts at home. It starts from your kitchen table. I have 2 daughters. My youngest daughter, she's 28, and she's an attorney. And we have conversation all the time about politics. And she said, well, Mom, it really doesn't matter. Now, she's an attorney, now very educated. So she said, well, does it really matter? I said, of course it does. Because if you look backwards, because I always say if you look backwards and you look forward, you can see that we are still in the struggling process. And then when you mentioned voters, I just had a conversation with one of the other ladies in the back, and my first question was who are your people? Who is your congressman? Who is your senator? And we have to really start there first, educating people to know who their people are, and along with that, to show and to tell how important it is to vote. Now, you all know that we're in this crisis, right?
Right.
I mean, we have number 45? Is that his number? Is he 45, 46, 44? What is his number?
He's 45.
Okay.
And if God, I shouldn't say that. I'm supposed to, well, if it happens again, he'll be 47. He'll be 45 and 47.
Right, exactly. And so, with that being said, are we in a pickle or what? Are we in trouble?
I don't understand. I don't know if it's politics or government or what. You know, like, I don't understand how somebody with so many criminal charges could run the country. You're not running your life. You know, I don't understand. Could you help me? I know I'm not the only person.
It's not about the criminal charges, because you know that came after the fact when he came out of the seat of being president. So it's not about the criminal charges. It's about where we are in America today. It's about, okay, I don't want to talk about racism, because it's not all about racism, but that has a part of it.
A large part.
Right. So I would say that 45 legal issues has anything. If you look at his history, he was part of the KKK family. He made himself wealthy by real estate. And he still appeals to that type of generation of the KKK family. So if we actually take a real good look at it, we are still saying it's a colored thing, if you look at it that way. So let's not get in trouble, but even though John says good trouble is a good thing. So we have to really make sure that in this election, that we put people in office that cares about all people versus just some people. Now, the insurrection that we had in 22? Now, how in the world can people like monkeys climb the United States Capitol building? How? That's crazy stuff. Now, for me, if we saw a lot of us climbing the building of the United States Capitol building, we'll be shot down like little monkeys climbing trees. But unfortunately, that did not happen to them. But then we had a president that allowed it to happen, coerced it to go on, and then it's allowed to run again. So it wasn't his criminal legal things that he has going on now, but what about the insurrection that he had going on then?
Oh, see, that's criminal to me.
Oh yeah, that's definitely criminal.
And some other things to me, you know, thinking of the president, and that's what I'm thinking of, your personal life. Well, I don't have much to do with that, but that would affects the nation. Mm-hmm. It's how can we maintain our democracy with such behavior? I remember sitting, since you brought that up, I remember sitting there watching television, and I could see the expression on people's face, and I'm like, wait, what is happening? You know, we would have never thought of that. But I think the part that we miss in it all is the embarrassment of the situation of the most powerful nation, you know, the most powerful nation in the world. We don't look good to the world.
But can you imagine though, and I say this a lot, can you imagine in Washington, D.C., you have the United States Capitol and people are climbing the walls.
I just was trying to figure out what in the world could be happening, and when I saw it, it was just totally unbelievable. Mm-hmm. It was like a nightmare. That was just a nightmare. That was just a nightmare to me. But when I think of things that happen on a state level, it's just a nightmare to me. Mm-hmm. This is America.
It is.
This is America. When you go in an airport and you're afraid of and very uncomfortable because of the homeless people that's sitting in there. If you say something, then you you're bad because it's the poor homeless people, but at the same time they're begging you and almost attacking you at the Popeyes counter in the airport, and they're sleeping we are the largest, we are the door to the world.
Exactly.
Atlanta is the door to the world, and we can't afford to feel comfortable going to take a flight to leave. And
well, let me just say this: when you talk about Atlanta, but then but when you get back to the areas of the political arena, right? This is 2024, and I don't know if you're aware that the maps have been redrawn.
Yes.
All right, so I live in Rockdale County, which is the 4th Congressional District, and my congressperson is Congressman Henry Hank Johnson. In 2025, he would not be my congressperson anymore. It would be Congressman David Scott. So now, if you look at the political arena, it is being so gerrymandered in our community. Georgia, right now, the Republican Party is in charge of the state of Georgia. And I say that because we do not have any seat that's statewide. If you would look at the governor, to the lieutenant governor, to the secretary of state, to the public commissioner, to any state office in Georgia, the Republican Party holds all of those. So that means that we are still a red state. And that also means that they are totally in charge as far as drawing the lines in the state of Georgia. When these lines start being redrawn, that means that the Democratic Party would not have any say-so. Now, every 10 years, we do a census report. And with that census report, they look at to see who has voted, what the population is as far as race, age, and gender, right? So once those 10 years go by, so now we're in a, okay, people always say that Georgia's purple. Georgia cannot be purple. Because if we were purple, we would have some blue mixed with red, and red and blue does this. It makes purple, right? Yeah. So that's not happening. Because on the state of Georgia, everything is red. And like I mentioned earlier, the governor, lieutenant governor, everybody is red. So what they are trying to do now, because I follow this a lot, because I am so interested in how Georgia moves, because I live here in Georgia, and how we put people in office that will have my best interest, my daughter's best interest, and my granddaughters, my grandkids, and my great-grandkids' interests. If we continue to move the way that we are moving now with number 45 that's coming up for the election this year, and I want to back up and say this too. A lot of people don't even know that this primary is March the 12th for the presidential election, okay? So then, therefore, they'll move to the local and the state office in May. That's going to cause a lot of confusion for voting. Because if we, as the chair of the Democratic women, and if I'm not educating my community in regards when voting is as far as election time for primary or state, when you get ready to go to the office and vote, you're going to be like, well, when did that happen? Where do I supposed to go vote? Because if you're not paying attention, I say this all the time, my group as people, that's in my community, we know what's going on. But then there are thousands other people that don't even have a clue on what's going on. So we have to make sure that we continue to be voiceful, make sure that we continue to educate people to know what's really going on. Because if 45 wins this election from Joe Biden, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And I want to talk about something else, if I can. Can I?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good. Because I know that we have some questions, but I just get the rattling, child. I just can't stop sometimes. But I want to talk about the congressional district, and the reason why, because when I ran for Congress in 2022, my district was District 10. And then this is when they actually started out wanting to redraw the maps.
Excuse me, before we go on, can we talk a little bit about, because we're going to have to work on getting people to vote.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
We have to work on getting people out and getting people to vote for what's best for you. Look for what's best for you. Don't get into the politics of it all. But we have to bring life to politics. When you talk about congressional districts, and this may seem really simple, but explain just a little bit about congressional districts, so people who are listening will know how to go back to look for their congressional district, or even study the history of their area and where they live in the congressional district.
Okay. So I'm just going to make it real plain and simple.
Yeah.
Congress, the congressional districts are the people that operates the United States of America in Washington, D.C. Just that simple.
Yes.
You have your state officers, and that's in the state of Georgia. They actually operate at the state capitol downtown Atlanta. The United States representatives operates in Washington, D.C. So United States representatives are called Congress people. That's the whole difference. But they operate in Washington. So mentioning that, Georgia has 16 congressional seats. The Republican Party the Democratic Party only has 5, I believe, right now. Congressman Hank Johnson, David Scott, Sanford Bishop, Nakima Williams, and Lucy Macbeth. We had 6, which was Carolyn Baudet. And they oversees parts of the state of Georgia. So that's what a congressperson does. It oversees parts of the state of Georgia, the area where you live. So like for me, I live in Rockdale. And Congressman Hank Johnson covers Rockdale, Newton, DeKalb, and some parts of Gwinnett. Now, I'm not going to ask you where you live. So you tell me who your congressperson
Hank
are.
Johnson is mine.
Okay, awesome. So he would not be yours in 25 if he's yours now. It all depends on where you live. So when you talk about that, the Republican Party is so smart. They have started, researching this thing 10 or 15 years ago. And I want to say that because when they redrew the lines from 6 and 7, which was Lucy Macbeth and Carolyn Baudet, and before Lucy was Karen Handel, which was a Republican candidate. So fortunately, Lucy won. On this last election in 2022, they took her over into the 7th district. In the 7th district, there was another Democratic person, which was Carolyn Baudet. So now you have 2 Democratic women that are running for Congress office, but only one can win, right?
Right.
So fortunately, Lucy went over and beat Carolyn, so now Carolyn is out. Now, if you pay attention, this election, they took Lucy back to the 6th. So what happened? We lost one, right?
Right.
We lost Carolyn. So now they took Lucy back to the 6th, and they have redrawn her district where it's going to be real hard for her to win. Now, they have calculated this, years ago. They knew that they were going to be able to redraw these lines because they're in charge. And anytime, during any party line that's in charge, they are capable of redrawing and redistricting the state.
And my point to people is this: get out and vote. Know, like you said, who is your senator, and vote so that you can win. When we start voting so we can win, it was a reason that people died. It was last week I was watching the movie Selma, and I was just crying and saying, God, where were you when all of this is going on? It's a reason why people did that. And this conversation, we're going to move a little forward, but it is a good conversation, and I would encourage people who don't understand to seek knowledge so that they would know and understand that the vote is not about how politics is going and you don't believe in it, but beginning to vote will change politics to benefit you. You want to win. You want to win the election. Think of it that way. You need to win the election. And thank you so much for that, because people, I think we don't understand, and I don't know if they teach civics anymore. I had civics in 9th grade when we learned the branches of government. But another important thing for us to talk to while I have you in the seat and before the camera, I want to talk about women in politics. I want to talk about the power of influence that we're missing out of on the magnificent, powerful, intelligent, wise women that's in politics today.
Well, 80% of women vote.
Yes.
Even though we have our male counterparts, but we elect people in office. We put people in power. Women vote. And we have lots of issues that contains to us. And you know that we have the issue that's coming up now, which is abortion rights. I am a full-blooded woman. I don't need anybody telling me what to do with my body.
I want to say this. How did abortion ever get connected with law? Because
I don't know.
for me as a medical professional, abortion is a healthcare issue. And to know that a lady has had an abortion and it's against the law, how did you get her medical right? How could that's like making a law to break a law.
Well, when you
Break
say
a law and making a law.
well, when you say medical issue, how can abortion be contained as a medical issue?
Because you go to a doctor, and it's a medical procedure.
Yeah, it's
And
a
then-
medical procedure, but it's not a medical issue. See, when you say a medical issue, that means to say that I need to have this abortion because I got some medical issues going on.
Some people do.
Okay.
Some people do. And your medical rights, you may be answering my question then, because there's HIPAA that protect your medical records.
Yeah, that protects my privacy. HIPAA protects my privacy.
Right.
But when you say abortion for medical issues, see, you can have an abortion and don't have a medical issue. Right?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you can.
one way or another.
Yeah, if a
You
woman
look at-
gets pregnant and she chooses not to born a child, she can choose to have an abortion, right? But that's not a medical issue. That's a right, a choice.
I don't know. A lot of things
Now-
cross my mind when we say that, but
Right.
we're looking at it from. I'm a medical person, so the decision on which you make an abortion.
You either do it by
Most
choice
time, it
or
could be
by medical issue.
mental health issues. It could be physical issues. It can be, well, if you move into financial issues, then it's not medical. But I would say if you can go somewhere else and take care of it, it's not a medical issue. Once you sign a consent for a medical procedure, for me, it becomes a medical issue. But from both the standpoints, go ahead. I don't want to spend too much time. Tell me what you're as a political issue, because now it is political.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how it became political. Maybe it became political sometime in the years and it just passed by me. So I don't know how it became political, but it is political. But when you say medical issue, see, I'm still on this medical issue thing, because if I say it again, when a woman becomes pregnant, she has a choice to birth or a choice not to birth. Regardless of whether or not there's any issues going on at all, it's a choice that she chooses to do, to birth or not to birth. That's a choice that a woman should be able to choose, and it shouldn't be political, and it shouldn't have to be medical. right? Now, for me, when you say medical issues, it's saying that I become pregnant and my pregnancy is causing me medical issues. So then therefore I may need to abort. Or on the other side, if I become pregnancy from some way of rape or incest or something like that, I may choose to not to want to carry the child, and then that's my decision. So when you say abortion for women's rights, that's telling me that I have a choice to choose. And I do not need the government to tell me what my choices should be. If that's the case, feed me, clothe me, house me, and do whatever that you need to do for me to follow your guidelines. But if you're not feeding me, clothing me, and housing me, and doing whatever, that's my choice. And I don't think that the government should have a choice for that.
I think it's no matter which road you go around, I think it's very personal, very, like what made it public. I don't know, I don't know, because I had a patient that was a very little girl, who was raped by a family member, and the decision was being made if they would let her have the baby or not. But it was like, how does the child gonna have a baby? Because she was so, and I just hated to see. I just hated to see all of the outside interference with what this child was gonna do. She couldn't even make a decision herself.
In other words, it should be made a little bit more safer. That's what I would say, because I'm just going to be a little personal here with you right now. I got pregnant at 15 at a very early age. And at 15, what can I do with a baby? Nothing. But I'm so glad that there were safe places where I could be able to go to choose my right. Now, I don't know if you remember back in the day how they used to say they would do things with clothes hangers, with women, back in the day, in the 30s and 40s and 60s or whatever, but to have a safe place to go to make a right, to make a choice. Because at 15, I didn't know what in the world, what would I do with a child at 15 years old? So, but it was so good to know that there was safe hospitals, that was legal, that was not in the back door room, that was not up in a closet alley somewhere, that would give me a procedure that I choose to have done. So, for the government to come in and to make a choice, I think that women should be able to choose. They should be able to have safe places to go where they would not be in back alleys or back doors, and the doctors should be able to do a safe procedures without being able to be looked at to have criminal charges, against them if they decide to do a procedure for a woman. So that's where I am with that. So I'm just being a little personal here. I don't talk about my personal life a lot, but that kind of like hit a little nerve a little bit. So we should be able to choose. And what the government should be doing is setting up safe places for women to be able to go to have a procedure done by choice if they choose to.
And I think it saves a lot of children's life in the beginning, because if a lady knows she can't have a baby, end up abusing the baby or whatever, that happens with a lot of children too. But I'm sure we're getting close to 40 minutes. But I want to thank you for being here. As a person I'm interested in what can I do to make government better in America. So for people who sit where I sit, Reverend Hadger, how do we help? What can we do to motivate people to become alive, to join the democratic process, and to know that it's important for them to join the democratic process?
Register to vote. If you're not a voter, register to vote. That will be the only way that you'll be able to have your voice heard. And your voice is heard by choosing the people to be elected into office that's carrying your values. Just that simple.
And the knowledge of how do people find out, like who's running, who's my senator, who's running. I had a girlfriend, and one day she said, how do I find that out? So how do you find out who is your senator?
The web is in your hands. Just research. You can put in, okay, one step you can go to is go to the Secretary of State office, sos.ga.gov. You can look there, put your address in, put your name in, and your date of birth, and it will pull up and tell you who your people are. It will tell you who your House rep, your state rep, your Congress rep, your president, your vice chair. It'll tell you your whole, it'll give you your whole history right there.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. And not only that, how do you get involved? If, like, say, the women's abortion, that's big to you. Insurance might be big to someone else.
Oh, health insurance is big to me too. Now that's another subject. But go ahead.
Yeah. So how, like the thing that politically pushes your heart, how do the common person become a part of the democracy to find out how do I fight for this?
Well, when you say common person, see, sometimes you have to have a passion for something. For me, it's a passion. And if you don't have a passion for it, you won't look for it. But just in general, if we keep talking about it, like we're talking about it now, and if you tell somebody, they always say that the word of mouth carries a lot. That's one of the biggest things that you can get something over, to tell somebody, to tell somebody, to tell somebody. So if we continue to keep talking about it and hope people will get on fire, it's like we are on fire, then they will start actually looking into it. And the reason why I say that, because in my campaign time, I would meet people, in the campaign. I would meet ex-felons, folks that has been to jail, that says that I can't vote, I'm on paper, which is saying that I'm on parole, I'm on probation. But see, we're not educating people because you can vote. We actually go into the jails and register people to vote. Because if you have not been convicted of a crime, you can still vote. And even if you have been convicted of a crime and serve your time and be restored, you can still vote. So we have to start making sure that we educate people to let them know that their voting rights can be restored. You can just go register to vote and make sure that you exercise your right to vote. There have been so many people that has been killed and died for our rights for democracy, and it is a shame that folks do not use their right to vote. And that really makes me mad. But not mad, but I guess a little angry about that. But I try to be cool on that part.
Yeah, we do have to, and now I brought that subject up because a person may not be interested in politics in general, all the way across the board, but there may be an issue that they're interested in, or that, like you say, push their buttons. And so, how easy is it to contact your senator once you find out who he is?
It's easy. They have the emails and stuff, going on there, but you can actually pick your phone up and call. And they may not be able to talk to you right then, but they do have an assistant on site that they will get the message to. And most of them, I would say 75% of them will call you back.
Yeah, and I think it's also
And then if they don't call back, don't vote for them the next time. That's what I say.
Yeah, and that's why I think pick one thing. If you can't see everything, or everything is overwhelming, or you don't believe in everything,
right?
Pick the one thing and find that politician that will
carry your bone for
Right,
you.
that carry your bone and that have that same interest of find that government, like the Public Service Commission. If you're having a public service, but a lot of people don't even know that
The
there
Public
is
Service
a
Commission to
Public
do that.
Service
They
Commission.
govern all these lights, it governs your water, your gas. A Public Service Commissioner covers all your utilities. So if Georgia Power is going up on your rate, that's your public commissioner person to complain to.
Right, so whatever your interest is, find out what part of the government takes care of that.
Exactly.
Or is over that. Find that and contact those people, but get in contact, get connected somewhere.
Get involved.
Yes.
That's what I
yes,
say.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to get involved. Your mortgage is going up. Your automobile insurance has increased in the last 6 months 6 times. If you haven't noticed that, that's going. Georgia Power has kind of like switched over. Well, I have, who did I have? Snap and Shows. And then my gas is Atlanta Gas, but I had to pay Scanner. I had to pay Atlanta Gas to run the pipes to Scanner. So all of this is public service commissioners. And that should affect everybody.
Right.
Your food is going up. And your agriculture is your eggs. They're high. So that should affect a lot of people.
Food is almost unbelievable.
Exactly.
Food is almost unbelievable.
And we don't hold that seat neither. So
And I just want to say thank you for being here.
thank you for having me.
I hope that somebody out there somewhere is becoming excited and saying, oh, what about insurance? Because people's looking at pharmacy
As prescription.
As the culprit, but insurance is a big dog on our back that's just smiling down, running the show, and it's not a good show.
So how many minutes we have left?
opinion.
Oh, okay, because I want to talk about this health insurance.
Okay, come on, do it real fast.
Okay.
Do it real fast.
All right. I am what, 64, I believe? And I'll be 65 in a few months. I have to wait until I'm 65 years old to have some good health insurance. Now, you know how we maintenance our cars? We change the oil and all this stuff, transmission, to keep a maintenance. So from the time, let me back up. If you do not have a 9-to-5 job that carries good health insurance, you up the creek.
You're going to pay it more than a car note. I paid for health insurance for years.
You are up the creek. Now, President Obama came in to try to do a little bit about Obama health care, right? It helps out for some people, but it doesn't help out the average person, because if you are self-employed and making a little bit of money, your health insurance may be $1,000 or some odd dollars a month. That's high. So health insurance should be affordable for everybody. Now, I have an issue with health insurance. My first daughter, I finally decided to have kids. At 16, she was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. Juvenile diabetes is insulin dependent.
Right.
Insulin was high during that time. Okay, it was high. Even to be able to go to the doctor was expensive. But with no health care, how can you go? With no health care, and you have such a deadly illness with no health care. I'm not the only one, I'm sure. I'm sure there are millions of citizens and residents of the United States of America is probably dealing with the same thing that I dealt with my daughter. But God has been good. He has been gracious. She went to nursing school, so now she's a nurse. She's able to take care of herself, and everything is good. But that doesn't help everybody else. For me, I just finally got health insurance because my husband and I own a trucking company. And so with that being said, healthcare was out the roof. And you can't take care of yourself. And that is absolutely appalling.
And the way health insurance is set up, as a nurse, this is a big deal to me. The way health insurance is set up, the insurance makes the decisions. Your doctor can say, I want to do this, but your insurance will say, no, you have to do this and this and this first.
The first you got to get something.
And
First you got to have some.
So even, I'm just saying, even if you have it, it's issues.
Right.
Because really who's ruling healthcare is insurance companies, and it limits the care that a person needs, even if they have insurance. Unless you have money to come in or insurance that they can collect a lot from, then you don't really always get the health care that you get. We have seen people die because of the decisions made by the insurance companies. And do you realize the only place in this nation that guarantees health insurance is corrections? If you're in jail or if you're in prison, that's the only people that is guaranteed health care.
Really?
I had a person who met me at that back door. He said, he did something to get arrested. He came to jail. He said, I'm having problems. It's feeling like the last time I had a heart attack. Please don't refuse me. And so I didn't refuse him. It's gone now, it's a long time. I didn't refuse him, and I accepted him, and I ended up ambulancing him out. Once the sheriff accepted him and arrested him, and we put him in jail, we had to rush him back out to the hospital.
Wow, that's awful.
To be taken care of. But that's the state of medical insurance. We could go on and on and on.
Oh, you said that right. First of all, you got to get some good. First of all, you got to get some.
And it has to be right. It has to be gettable. Because even if you get insurance and you have an insurance company that say, your doctor say, you're going to start on this first tier med. I need you to take this medication. This medication, I've examined you, this is best for you. The insurance company will come and say, no, that they have to try this one first.
Okay.
And I just think that whole entire insurance world should be revamped.
Well, that's your insurance commissioner.
Yes, that's my big fight that I want to fight.
Yeah, that's a fight for me too. So I join you on that fight.
I just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I hope people listen and they go out and find out who they're talking to. Leave us with something and how to contact you if someone wants to.
Well, you can always contact me by email, which is S and Sam, O and Oscar, G and girl, A and apple, D and David, and W and women, State of Georgia Democratic Women @gmail.com. I don't mind giving out my cell, if that's okay.
No,
770-875-8138. And I am Reverend Dr. Phyllis Hatcher, and I'm passionate about our people. So anytime that you want to talk about any issue that you may have in healthcare, abortion rights, even about politics, to learn where you live, and to learn who your people are, I'm here to assist. But again, thank you, Ms. Ovation, for having me. I'm so honored that you decide to choose me to come sit and have a conversation with you. So thank you so much. I appreciate
Together,
that.
we change the world.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.